Hi, friends. This is Annie. I'm so excited to be here and have what I think is a really important conversation today with Margaret and Laura. You know, we're talking about something that I think all of us have walked through and want to walk through better, is how we love people well when they are in crisis. And so just kind of kick us off, y'all have experienced that firsthand. What is it like when you enter crisis and other people come around you, and how do we not say the kitschy, cheesy thing, and what does that look like?
Yeah, when the news broke that I was diagnosed with breast cancer and we released that, it was amazing to see the people who came on the scene. I mean, it was like a 911 response. People came out of the woodwork. But what we experienced is as the weeks and the months rolled on, because it was such a long treatment plan, that slowly they began to fade away until one day we woke up and went, oh my goodness, it feels like there's hardly anybody left.
Yeah.
And so what we recognize is the importance of thinking long term for those who are in crisis, recognizing that the crisis and the healing that has to take place, it's not over when the funeral is over, or when the chemotherapy ends, or when the divorce papers are filed, or when the foreclosure happens, but that we need to be committed to be involved for the long haul. That may mean setting a reminder on your cell phone every 21 days just to say, you know what, I'm thinking of you, I'm praying for you, you are loved.
Yeah, Laura, was that your experience too?
No, we actually got what Margaret is suggesting, and then that was just that, you know, we had people at our door all the time, bringing a meal, just texting me, I'm thinking about you, I'm praying for you. We really did have the attention, at least for me, that I felt that I needed, and I would not have handled it well if I didn't have that attention. It would be very hard, because then you feel very alone and forgotten. And nobody wants to feel forgotten and left out too. You know, you feel separated in some way when you're going through something like cancer. So it is so helpful to have people stay connected and not be afraid of that. I think that's one thing where we get into that sort of weird stuff that people say, is because they're sort of afraid of what we're going through. And so that can be tricky.
You know, a big percent of our If Gathering family of women are women who are at home by themselves, that are either bedridden or sick or depressed, or something that keeps them isolated. Y'all have been in the situation where you were in crisis. What did you communicate to people that you needed, and what do you wish you would have communicated to people?
I think that the key word there is you need to communicate. You can't expect people to know what you need if you don't communicate, and that can be tricky for people in crisis too, because you don't want to feel needy. You don't want to feel like you have to ask.
Right.
I needed meals. That's what I asked for. If you want to help me, bring a meal, because that eliminates grocery shopping, it helps financially, and I don't have to spend the time in the kitchen. I can spend it taking care of my child. You know, so that kind of thing, just real practical stuff, and being very vocal about what you need.
Yeah.
I think for us, I noticed that one of the questions got very tiring, and often can get tiring for people who are experiencing crisis, just how are you? Because you're just like answering that question 50,000 times over, and you don't even know at a certain point. And a better thing when you see somebody in crisis at the grocery store or church, maybe it says, tell me what you need. Never say I'll do anything, because you won't. You're not going to hand over your car and your house, right? So say, tell me what you need, and come with 2 or 3 options of those things. And maybe that is bringing a meal. Maybe that is babysitting one night. Maybe it's a gift card to a restaurant. I know for me with chemo, I couldn't tell you what I could eat one day and was going to spit out the next, because it kills all your taste buds. So when people got us gift cards to the grocery store, that was the biggest blessing. It again helped with the financial, but it also allowed us flexibility. And so not assuming what people need, tell me what you need, come with 3 ideas, and be ready to serve them in those ways.
Yeah.
Another a thing that we got that I found was really helpful and like clever was gas cards, because you're driving back and forth to the hospital
never thought of
all
that.
the time. Yeah, it's an expense people don't think about, and it stacks up. So that's just another idea too.
That's a great one. I would estimate in a year of treatment, we probably drove close to 10,000 miles to the hospital. I mean, it is
constant.
It's people don't realize. So gas bills,
don't realize
grocery.
that.
The other thing about
Parking.
grocery certificates is that then they can often use them at the pharmacy, which, as is if you get your pharmacy at the same place as a gas. So these are just simple, practical ways. They don't have to be large amounts, but it's that tangible way that says, you are loved, you are remembered, I am fighting with you, I am for you. And that's what people in crisis need. and to overcome that fear of breaking the silence that you would say the wrong
And
thing.
you know me well enough to know that sometimes I feel like too much. I feel like I'm a lot of Annie. And so my worry sometimes with my friends in crisis is that I'm annoying. That like if I text every day, I'm too much. And well, I offered to bring them food last week and they said no. Do I try again this week? So help me as an Annie. How do you know if you're too much, and when do you stop?
Yeah.
And
One of the best things anybody ever did at the very beginning of our journey with Zach was my dear friend Anne called me up and she said, if this were me, I would want to be left alone for a year until we were done with this, and I wouldn't want anybody to bother me. Is that what you need? Because that's what she would need. And I said, no, don't you dare leave me alone. I want to be called every day. I want you to check in. Ask, just ask. Am I too much? What do you need? And I think people are generally pretty willing to answer that directly.
yeah.
And also to know in that case, people's needs in crisis are changing around the clock. So what they need one day is not what they need the next. One week they may need a meal, the next week they may not. If they say no once, that's not a permanent no. That was just a no in that moment at that time. Circle back around. Keep offering. Be that persistent friend. You know, be the one who crosses the road like the Good Samaritan and enters in, who is there for the long haul, who helps with the medical bills, who is committed to do what Christ did for us.
Yeah.
How does prayer fit in with other people? Does it help when people say they're praying?
It did for me. I mean, there were times when all I could focus on was just what we were going through, and I knew my prayer life was not what it should be, but I knew that these people were stepping in for me and carrying me, and I felt that, so I don't know.
I found people would often ask, how do I pray? And I couldn't answer that question. Rather, ask God how to pray for the person. Turn to Him and say, God, how do I pray for this person today? And trust that you don't need the latest medical details. You don't need the latest updates to know how to pray. The Holy Spirit wants to ignite that and speak that to your heart.
Thank you, guys. So for those of y'all who, like all of us, have friends living in crisis, this has been so helpful for me. And we just
Thank you.
hope that
Yeah, that's
God
good.
loves other people through us, you know. So thank y'all very, very much.
You're welcome.